This morning, Senate leaders and the White House have reached an agreement on this $2 trillion stimulus package, believed to be the biggest economic rescue in U.S. history. The question, is it enough to help millions of Americans at risk of losing their jobs who have already lost their jobs because of the pandemic? CNN chief business correspondent Christine Romans, who's also anchoring this hour, joins me now with more. So, Romans, really, the most important question as we sit here at 5:24 a.m. is what's in this?
Well, checks for millions of American families, and that's one thing that'll come out pretty quickly. Once they figure out how to get those out the door, they want to do that quickly, the Treasury Secretary said. So maybe in the next couple of weeks. But there's also a whole bunch of money here for hospitals, for local communities who are going to need the money as this pandemic gets worse here. So you've got hundreds of billions of dollars for companies, hundreds of billions of dollars for the healthcare system, and hundreds of billions of dollars for American workers. There's also better jobless benefits, and this is something Democrats really were pushing for. They know that there are going to be millions of people out of work who are going to need bigger checks for a longer period of time, John.
Talk to me about the jobless benefits, because that's very interesting. There's different money coming in different ways here, and Democrats have argued that boosted unemployment benefits actually gets more money to more people in need more quickly.
And it's not just a one-time check. It's a check that is a recurring check, so people have more stability for that. And we know from research that jobless benefits tend to be things that go right into the economy right away. So that's a $250 billion for that. So those will be bigger checks for people, because when you get jobless benefits, you don't always get exactly what you made, the money that you made. Also, they're loosening some of the restrictions. So for people who are like furloughed, for example, who will be able to more easily get those checks than under prior rules.
One of the holdups on this deal was oversight over the big chunk of money for corporations. What do we know about that oversight?
There'll be a panel and an inspector general to make sure that it's just not at the whim of the Treasury Department or the whim of politics to decide what companies will get bailouts. And that was really important here. I mean, remember the last time we had a big bailout, which was half the size of this, in 2008, 2009, there was so much anger about those bailouts that it actually spawned a whole Tea Party movement, remember? And that changed American politics, spending that kind of money and the lack of oversight and spending some of that money. So there is oversight this time around, so that's not just a pot of money, a slush fund, Democrats were calling it. The president said that he would have the ultimate oversight over that slush fund, and that really made Democrats nervous. Now there will be independent oversight of how that money is spent.
Speaking of the president, there are reports this morning that there are going to be limits or restrictions on who can get some of this money, namely not people who work in the government. Would that include the president's family?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't have a bailout of resorts and hotel properties and golf clubs with taxpayer money of the president's business. That was something the Democrats were very keen to get in there. They just literally did not trust the president that this money wouldn't go to his own businesses.
In terms of how much this will go to propping up the economy, what are the large questions that are still hanging out there for you and the people you're talking to?
Well, do we have control of the virus? That is still the biggest unknown. And how far this goes to helping the economy depends on how we get a handle on the virus and make sure we're not doing more damage, right? You also have the Fed. The Fed is very important here, and the Fed actually bought Congress some time. The Fed has basically said the U.S. economy is too big to fail, and it will do whatever it takes to keep the financial system sound and safe. So that is a really important leg of this stool here. The other one is Congress, and will Congress continue to spend money even after this? And then the third is the medical piece. Do we have the social distancing and flattening the curve right? And do we have the patience to make sure we don't sabotage that by going back to business too quickly? If you hurt American consumer confidence, that people are afraid of this virus even after they go back to work, that could hold the economy back for years.